Good morning and welcome back to our latest installment of walking through the Book of Concord. Today we're looking at the Large Catechism, Part 1, the kind of official part of it, the first 15 paragraphs. So the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. That is, thou shalt have and worship me alone as thy God. What is the force of this and how is it to be understood? What does it mean to have a God? Or what is God? Answer. A God means that from which we are to expect all good, and to which we are to take refuge in all distress. So that to have a God is nothing else than to trust and believe him from the whole heart. As I have often said, but the confidence and faith of the heart alone make both God and an idol. If your faith and trust be right, then is your God also true. And on the other hand, if your trust be false and wrong, then you have not the true God, for these two belong together, faith and God. That now, I say, upon which you set your heart and put your trust is properly your God. Therefore, it is the intent of this commandment to require true faith and trust of the heart, which settles upon the only true God and clings to him alone. That is as much as to say, see to it that you let me alone be your God and never seek another. Or, whatever you lack of good things, expect it of me, and to look to me for it. And whenever you suffer misfortune and distress, creep and cling to me. I, yes, I will give you enough and help you out of every need. Only let not your heart cleave to or rest in any other. This I must unfold somewhat more plainly, that it may be understood and perceived by ordinary examples of the contrary. Many one thinks that he has God and everything in abundance when he has money and possessions. He trusts in them and boasts of them with such firmness and assurance as to care for no one. Lo, such a man also has a God, Mammon by name, or money and possessions, on which he sets all his heart, and which is also the most common idol on earth. He who has money and possessions feels secure and is joyful and undismayed as though he were sitting in the midst of paradise. On the other hand, he who has none doubts and is despondent as though he knew of no God. For very few are to be found who are of good cheer and who neither mourn nor complain if they have not mammon. This care and desire for money sticks and clings to our nature even to the grave. So too whoever trusts and boasts that he possesses great skill, prudence, power, favor, friendship, and honor has also a God, but not this true and only God. This appears again when you notice how presumptuous, secure, and proud people are because of such possessions, and how despondent when they no longer exist or are withdrawn. Therefore, I repeat that the chief explanation of this point is that to have a God is to have something in which the heart entirely trusts. Besides, consider what in our blindness we have hitherto been practicing and doing under the papacy. If anyone had toothache, he fasted and honored Saint Apollonia, macerated his flesh by voluntary fasting to the honor of Saint Apollonia. If he was afraid of fire, he chose Saint Lawrence as his helper in need. If he dreaded pestilence, he made a vow to Saint Sebastian or Roccio, and a countless number of such abominations, where everyone selected his own saint, worshipped him, and called for help to him in distress. Here belong those also as, for example, sorcerers and magicians, whose idolatry is most gross, and who make a covenant with the devil, in order that he may give them plenty of money or help them in love affairs, preserve their cattle, restore to them their lost possessions, etc. For all these place their heart and trust elsewhere than in the true God. Look for nothing good to him, nor seek it from him. Thus you can easily understand what and how much this commandment requires, namely, that man's entire heart and all his confidence be placed in God alone and in no one else. For to have God, you can easily perceive, is not to lay hold of him with our hands, or to put him in a bag as money, or to lock him in a chest as silver vessels. But to apprehend him means when the heart lays hold of him and clings to him. But to cling to him with the heart is nothing else than to trust in him entirely. For this reason, he wishes to turn us away from everything else that exists outside of him, and to draw us to himself, namely because he is the only eternal good. As though he would say, Whatever you have heretofore sought of the saints, or for whatever things you have trusted in mammon or anything else, expect it all of me, and regard me as the one who will help you and pour out upon you richly all good things. Thus far, the Book of Concord. We'll be back with more tomorrow.